Stop whatever you're doing. The signal just came in from Germany, and it is flashing red. If you thought the economic collapse was just YouTube clickbait, look at Wolfsburg right now. Volkswagen, the industrial heart of Europe, the company that basically is the German economy, has just officially surrendered. They aren't just firing people. It's worse. They are paying people a fortune to disappear. We have obtained internal documents, memos that were never meant to leave the factory floor. They reveal that starting January 26, 2026, Volkswagen is opening the floodgates for the class of 1969 to exit the workforce permanently. They are calling it partial retirement. I call it a liquidation sale. They are desperate. How desperate? They are offering to pay these workers up to 95% of their net salary to stay home. Think about that for a second. 95% pay for zero work. Why would a corporation do that? Why would they burn cash like that? Because they know what's coming. The official narrative is cost-cutting. They have a target to slash 35,000 jobs by 2030. They've already managed to push 25,000 people out the door, but the math doesn't work. They are still 10,000 bodies short. So now they are targeting the boomers, the generation born in 1969. The memo explicitly states that applications open on January 26. It's a deadline. It's an ultimatum wrapped in a golden wrapper. They call it double voluntariness. Both the company and the worker have to agree. It sounds nice, doesn't it? Nobody is forced to sign. That is a lie. When your boss puts a contract on your desk that guarantees you 95% of your pay and full pension contributions to walk away, while hinting that the factory might not even be there in 5 years, that is not a choice. That is a lifeboat on the Titanic. And guess what? People are fighting to get on the boat. Acceptance rates at some locations are hitting 90%. 90% of the workforce is taking the money and running. They know the ship is sinking. This is deindustrialization on a scale we have never seen before. When these 1969-born workers leave, their jobs aren't being filled by young graduates. They aren't being filled by robots. The positions are being deleted, vaporized. Volkswagen is shrinking itself to survive. And if Volkswagen is shrinking, Germany is dying. This is the engine of Europe stalling out in real time. The deal is sweeter than anything you will ever see in the US. VW is topping up pension contributions to 100%. They are covering the gap in the statutory pension insurance for life. They are literally buying the silence and compliance of an entire generation. But here is the terrifying question. Where is this money coming from? Volkswagen is bleeding market share to China. Their EVs are sitting on lots unsold. They are burning the furniture to keep the house warm. This partial retirement scheme is a Ponzi scheme. The current revenue, which is dropping, is being used to pay people not to produce anything. How long can that last? Until 2030? 2035? The memo says this move was expected to happen earlier, but management waited until the last minute. Now there are no more excuses. The grim reaper of accounting has arrived. The class of 1969 might be the last lucky generation. They get the golden parachute. But what about you? What about the workers born in 1980, 1990, 2000? There will be no 95% deal for you. There will be no topped-up pension. By the time you retire, the coffers will be empty. Volkswagen is looting its own future to pay for its present mistakes. In this video, we are going to dissect this internal memo line by line. We're going to show you why this isn't just about cars. It's about the collapse of the Western industrial model. The Made in Germany label is being peeled off, crumpled up, and thrown in the trash. And the class of 1969? They are the last ones out the door before they lock it forever. Let's talk about the money. Because in the end, they can wrap it in words like social responsibility or demographic transition, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers scream. What Volkswagen is doing with the class of 1969 is not a retirement plan. It is a bribe. It is the largest corporate hush money operation in modern industrial history. And you need to understand the mechanics of this deal because it proves that the system is broken beyond repair. We are looking at the term sheet right now. If you are a VW worker born in 1969 and you agree to sign your career away starting January 26th, the company will continue to pay you between 78% and 95% of your net salary. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. You stop working. You stop producing. You stop showing up. And yet, almost your entire paycheck hits your bank account every single month. In the Tariff Plus bracket, it's basically full pay. But wait, it gets crazier. In the US, if you retire early, you get penalized. Your Social Security takes a hit. In Germany, Volkswagen is covering that too. They are topping up the pension contributions to 100%. They are literally paying the government phantom taxes on your behalf to ensure that when you officially retire at 63, you get the maximum possible payout. They are even covering half of the pension gap for the rest of your life. This is a golden parachute so big it could cover a stadium. Now, ask yourself the trillion-dollar question. Why? Why would a company that claims it is in a crisis, a company that is losing billions in China, a company that is screaming about high costs, suddenly open the vault and throw money at people to leave? It's simple math. The cost of keeping you is now higher than the cost of bribing you. In their spreadsheets, you, the worker, are a liability. A machine that costs $5,000 a month to maintain but produces cars that sit in a parking lot rotting. So, they pay you $4,000 to go away. It looks like a loss, but to them, it's a saving. It's a capitulation cost. They are admitting that they have no work for you. They have no growth for you. They have no future for you. They call this double voluntariness. Both sides have to agree. Sounds fair, right? Wrong. This is a trap. Imagine you are sitting in that office. The HR manager slides this contract across the table. 95% pay to go home. Or, you stay. You stay in a factory where lines are stopping. You stay in a company that has declared war on its own workforce. You stay and risk getting fired in 2027 with nothing but a cardboard box to put your stuff in. Is that really a choice? No. It's a shotgun wedding. You sign the divorce papers or you get shot. And the workers know it. That's why the acceptance rates are skyrocketing. They are taking the money and running because they know the golden parachute is a limited time offer. It's a liquidity event for the boomers. But here is the dark side of the moon. What happens to the guy sitting next to you who was born in 1975? Or the kid born in 1995? They get nothing. The money being used to pay for the class of 1969 is money that is not being invested in the future. It's not going into R&D. It's not going into new factories. It is being burned to pay for the past. Volkswagen is effectively cannibalizing its own capital to fund a luxury exit for one specific generation. This confirms the Ponzi nature of the Western welfare state. The last generation in gets the gold. The generations coming after get the bill. By the time the class of 1969 hits the official retirement age of 63, they will be handed over to the state pension system. And who funds that? You do. The taxpayer. The inflation victim. This isn't just a VW story. This is the blueprint for the entire West. Pay them to leave. But eventually, you run out of money to pay and you run out of people to leave. And all you are left with is an empty factory and a mountain of debt. The golden parachute is deploying, folks. If you aren't strapped into one right now, you are the one hitting the ground. Welcome to the new Rust Belt. It's not in Michigan. It's not in Ohio. It is right in the heart of Europe. What Volkswagen is doing with the class of 1969 is the final signature on the suicide note of German industry. You have to zoom out to understand the magnitude of this. This isn't just about a car company trying to trim fat. This is about a country realizing it can no longer do the one thing it was famous for: making things. For decades, made in Germany was the gold standard. It meant precision, quality, and engineering dominance. But you cannot build high-quality machines when your energy policy is a fantasy and your geopolitical strategy is a disaster. Let's look at the why. Why is VW purging its most experienced staff? Because the business model of Germany is broken. It relied on cheap Russian gas to power its factories and eager Chinese consumers to buy its cars. Both of those pillars have collapsed. The gas pipelines were blown up, literally and metaphorically. Energy in Germany is now a luxury good. Electricity costs are crippling. It is mathematically impossible to manufacture mass-market vehicles in Germany profitably when you're competing with China, where energy is practically free and coal plants are burning 24/7. So, Volkswagen is doing the only logical thing a multinational corporation can do. They are hollowing out the core. They are turning Germany into a sales office and moving the actual production elsewhere. They are building massive battery plants in Canada. They are expanding in China. They are setting up shop in the US to get those IRA subsidies. And Germany? Germany gets the golden parachute. Germany gets to pay its workers to stay home and watch Netflix while the factories turn into museums. This is exactly what happened to the British steel industry. It is what happened to American manufacturing in the 70s and 80s, but it is happening at warp speed. The Altersteilzeit program is a polite way of saying we are closing up shop. Think about the supply chain. A car has 30,000 parts. Those parts come from thousands of smaller companies, the famous German Mittelstand. When VW cuts 10,000 jobs, the shockwave destroys 50,000 jobs in the supply chain. These smaller companies don't have the cash to pay their workers 95% of their salary to retire. They just go bankrupt. We are seeing a massacre of the industrial base that nobody is talking about because the headlines are focused on the generous VW deal. And let's not forget the Green Deal Suicide Pact. European regulations have effectively banned the internal combustion engine by 2035. VW is being forced to stop making the one thing they were the best in the world at, diesel and gas engines, and forced to make electric golf carts that nobody wants to buy. The Chinese control the battery supply chain. The Chinese control the raw materials. By pivoting to EV, VW walked into a trap where they have no advantage. So, the class of 1969 is being paid to dismantle the old world. They are the mechanics of the combustion era, and they are being told, "Thank you, your services are no longer required in the Green Utopia." But the Green Utopia has no jobs. It has no exports. It has only debt and subsidies. Germany is hollowing out. It is becoming a country of pensioners and bureaucrats, living off the accumulated wealth of the last 50 years. But that wealth is finite. You can only sell the family silver once. The partial retirement of the 1969 generation is actually the partial retirement of Germany as a world power. They are checking out. They are folding their cards. If you are an investor, look at this clearly. This is a sell signal for the entire Eurozone industrial complex. When the flagship sinks, the fleet follows. The lights are going out in Wolfsburg, and they aren't coming back on. If Charles Ponzi were alive today, he wouldn't be in jail. He would be running the German state pension system. What Volkswagen is doing is simply exposing the scam for what it is. We need to talk about the pension black hole, because it is about to swallow the entire European economy. Here is how the system works on paper. You work, you pay taxes, and the government saves that money for your retirement. Right? Wrong. That is the fairy tale. The reality is, you work, you pay taxes, and the government immediately spends that money to pay the pension of the guy who retired yesterday. There is no savings account. There is no vault. It is a pay-as-you-go system. Money in, money out. This works fine when you have 5 workers paying for one retiree. That was Germany in 1960. Today, it's barely 2 workers for one retiree. By 2030, thanks to moves like this VW deal, it will be closer to 1-to-1. Think about that. Every worker will essentially have to support themselves and a retiree. That is mathematically impossible. It is financial slavery. The class of 1969 represents the peak of the baby boom. These are the demographics that drive the economy. When VW pays them to stop working at age 57, they are removing the pillars that hold up the roof. These high-earning experts stop paying into the system 4 years early. And because VW is deleting the jobs, no young workers are coming in to replace those payments. It is a double whammy. The income of the pension fund drops, while the liabilities stay exactly the same. The German government already subsidizes the pension fund with over $100 billion a year from general taxes because the contributions aren't enough. $100 billion! That is money that isn't going to schools, roads, or the military. It is just being burned to keep the Ponzi scheme from collapsing today. Now add 10,000 VW retirees. Then add the steel workers. Then the chemical workers. The subsidy will eat the entire budget. This is intergenerational theft, plain and simple. The boomers at VW get the 95% deal. They get the golden handshake. They get to retire before the collapse. Who pays for it? The 25-year-old engineer who just graduated. He will face tax rates of 50%, 60%, maybe 70% to fund the promises made to his parents' generation. He will never own a home. He will never build wealth. He is a battery being drained to keep the old system lights on for a few more years. Volkswagen knows the state system is doomed. That's why they are topping up the pensions themselves now. They want to get their people out the door and secure before the government is forced to cut benefits. It's a lifeboat strategy. VW is putting its own employees in the lifeboats and pushing them away from the Titanic, while the rest of the passengers, the taxpayers, are told to keep dancing in the ballroom. If you are under 50 and you are relying on a state pension in Europe, you are delusional. The money won't be there. The math doesn't work. When the ratio hits 1:1, the system breaks. The government will have to print money to pay the pensions, which leads to hyperinflation. So you get your check, but it won't buy a loaf of bread. That is the endgame. The VW golden parachute is actually a signal flare. It says, get out now. Get your money out of the system. Get your assets into something real. Because the social contract is void, the check is going to bounce, and the class of 1969 are the last ones cashing out before the bank run begins. Welcome to the Great Wall of 1969. On one side lies the land of milk and honey, where you get paid full salary to sit on your couch. On the other side lies the wasteland of eternal labor, where you work until you drop dead. Volkswagen has just drawn a line in the sand, and if you were born one day too late, you are screwed. This isn't just an HR policy, this is intergenerational warfare. Think about the psychology of the factory floor right now. You have a guy born in December 1969. He is smiling. He is buying a boat. He is checking out. Right next to him is a guy born in January 1970. He is doing the exact same job. But he gets nothing. No deal, no golden handshake, no escape. He has to stay on the sinking ship for another decade. How do you think that makes him feel? Do you think he is motivated to build high-quality cars? No, he is furious. Volkswagen has inadvertently created a caste system based on birth years. The boomers are the Brahmins, the untouchable elite who get to drain the company accounts dry before the lights go out. The younger generations, Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, are the Dalits, the untouchables who exist only to service the debt and keep the machine running just long enough for the checks to clear. This 1969 divide represents the ultimate betrayal of the social contract. The deal used to be, work hard, pay your dues, and you will be taken care of. That deal is dead. The new deal is, Be born at the right time. It is a lottery, and the boomers won the jackpot. They got cheap housing, cheap energy, stable jobs, and now a deluxe exit package funded by the cannibalization of the company's future. Look at the numbers. VW is desperate to cut 35,000 jobs. They are desperate to save money, yet they are throwing cash at the oldest, most expensive workers. Why? Because the boomers hold the power. They hold the union seats. They hold the political voting blocks. They negotiated this exit for themselves, pulling up the ladder behind them. I got mine. Good luck to you. This creates a toxic environment. The younger workers know they are being robbed. They know that every euro spent on a partial retiree is a euro that won't be there for their own raises, their own training, or their own severance when the factory finally closes in 2030. They are watching their inheritance being spent at the casino. And this leads to the phenomenon we are seeing globally: the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, lying flat. Why should a young German engineer bust his ass for VW? To pay for Hans's early retirement? No thanks. He will move to Zurich. He will move to Texas. He will move to Singapore. The brain drain from Germany is going to accelerate because nobody wants to be the last one holding the bag. The class of 1969 is walking away with the family silver. They are stripping the copper wiring out of the walls on their way out. This divide creates a society of resentment. It pits the young against the old. And in a democracy where the old outnumber the young lose every single time. So if you are on the wrong side of the 1969 wall, wake up. The system is not designed for you. The system is designed to extract value from you and transfer it to them. Volkswagen just made it official policy. The golden parachute is only big enough for one generation. Everyone else? You better learn how to fly or you're going to hit the ground hard. Someone has to pay the bill. That is the first rule of economics. Volkswagen is paying the bill for the class of 1969 by burning its capital. But who pays the bill for the collapse of the German state? Who pays for the empty pension funds? Who pays for the deindustrialization? Look in the mirror. It's you. We are entering the phase of financial repression. This is a fancy term economists use when they mean stealing your money legally. When a government is broke, and make no mistake, Germany is fundamentally broke due to these demographic liabilities, they don't declare bankruptcy. They confiscate wealth. They have already started laying the trap. Have you noticed the push for asset registers in the EU? They want to know every ounce of gold you own, every crypto coin in your wallet, and every square meter of real estate in your name. They call it anti-money laundering. That is a lie. It is a shopping list. They are taking inventory before they start the seizure. The VW situation is the trigger. As thousands of high-income taxpayers turn into tax receivers, pensioners, the tax base collapses. The government will panic. They will look at the private wealth of the citizens, the savings accounts, the family homes, and they will see it as a national resource to be harvested. In history, this always happens in 3 steps. Step 1 is inflation. They print money to pay the pensions, making your cash worthless. We are already there. Step 2 is financial repression. They force pension funds and banks to buy government debt that yields nothing. They trap your capital inside the system so you can't escape. Step 3 is overt confiscation, one-time wealth taxes, forced mortgages on your home, haircuts on bank deposits. You need to understand the bail-in laws. In Europe, if a bank fails because, say, its biggest industrial clients, like auto suppliers, go bust, the government doesn't bail them out anymore. You do. The depositors. If you have money in the bank, you are legally considered a creditor. If the bank goes down, your money becomes equity in a bankrupt institution. You don't own your money. The bank owns it, and you have an IOU. And the ultimate weapon is coming. The digital euro, CBDC. Why are they rushing to launch this? Because it gives them total control. With programmable money, they can impose negative interest rates instantly. They can say, if you don't spend this money by the end of the month, it expires. They can automatically deduct a climate tax or a solidarity tax directly from your digital wallet. You cannot hide. You cannot withdraw cash under the mattress because there will be no cash. The golden parachute for the VW boomers is an illusion because the currency they are being paid in is marked for death. They're getting more pieces of paper, but each piece of paper will buy less and less. Meanwhile, the middle class, the people who actually built this wealth, are being lined up for the slaughter. This is the Lastenausgleich scenario. It translates to equalization of burdens. It happened in Germany in 1952 after the war. People with property had to pay 50% of its value to the state over 30 years. It is going to happen again. The excuse this time won't be a war. It will be the demographic emergency and the climate crisis. Volkswagen is signaling the end of the era of accumulation. Now begins the era of confiscation. If your wealth is in the system, in bank accounts, in government bonds, in real estate that can be easily taxed, you are the target. The state is hungry, and you are on the menu. We have spent the last 25 minutes dissecting the corpse of the German industrial miracle. We watched Volkswagen gut its workforce. We watched the pension system implode. We watched the government sharpen its knives for your wallet. Now you have two choices. You can curl up in a ball and wait to be sheared like a sheep, or you can build an ark. The class of 1969 got their ark handed to them on a silver platter. Good for them, but nobody is coming to save you. The government isn't coming, the central bank isn't coming, and your employer definitely isn't coming. In this new era of financial repression, you are the enemy. Your savings are their target. Your independence is their threat. So, what is the exit strategy? It's simple. Starve the beast. The system feeds on your participation. It feeds on your deposits in their banks. It feeds on your investments in their bonds. It feeds on your trust in their currency. The moment you take your wealth out of their digital ledger and move it into the physical world, you disappear from their radar. You become sovereign. I am talking about counterparty risk. In the paper world, every asset you own depends on someone else keeping a promise. Your bank balance depends on the bank not failing. Your stock portfolio depends on the broker not freezing your account. Your currency depends on the government not printing it into oblivion. In the physical world, there is no counterparty. If you hold a silver coin in your hand, you don't need Volkswagen to sell cars for that silver to have value. You don't need the ECB to manage inflation. Physics dictates the value. It is scarce. It is energy condensed into matter. It is God's money, not government money. The elites know this. Why do you think central banks are buying gold at the fastest pace since 1967? Why do you think billionaires are buying farmland? They are trading their paper profits for hard assets before the music stops. They are front-running you. Volkswagen is paying its boomers to leave because they want to shed human liabilities. You need to shed paper liabilities.